It's not different. America is a place that can be a place where Shem will be found in Mahmoud Liados and Crown Heights, in New York, and in your heart. Chapter 20. Man Natsei Mizra David Yan Chadonai B'Yem Tzara. Hashem should answer us on the day of our distress. Yisagel Hashem Elohei Yankev. The name of the God of Jacob should support us. Yishlach Ezo HaMekodesh, and send help Mikodesh from his holy place. And from Jerusalem, from Zion, Yisadeka, send support. Yishker Kol Michosecha, you should recall all your offerings, flour, sheep, goats, behemoths. Yadash Naselo, they should be graciously accepted. Yitan Lachagav Avecha, you should grant your heart's requests. B'chol Atzasacha Yamole, and you should be enabled to fulfill your good resolutions. You should make good resolutions. You should act upon them. Little ones. The secret of good resolutions is don't make them too hard. Make them easy. Something you can do. But start right away. People make big resolutions and they say, well, okay, I'll need a day or two to build up to this. No. Take something easy you can do right away and start immediately. And he should grant your heart's requests. Now let us rejoice, and we will rejoice Bishu Asecha Secha in your salvation. V'Shem Eloheinu Nidgel, and raise the banner of Hashem on high. Yimale Adonai Kol Mishalesecha, and he will fulfill all your requests. Ata Yodaiti, now I know. Ki Heshia Adonai Mashiach, Hashem saves his anointed one. Yanehu, answering him, Mishmei Kodshe, from his holy heavens. Biguvures, with mightiness, Yesha, salvation, Yamine, from his right hand. They come against us with their chariots and vehicles of war and their cavalry, the vicious war horses. No one wants to get kicked by a horse. We come with the name of God on our lips. Hemakaru, but not followed. They stumbled, they fell off the stage of world history. And they say that we arose up and we're standing strong. Adonai Hashem is our God. He will save us and answer us on the day we call. We have begun chapter 10. And we now know the difference between tzaddik gamor, a complete tzaddik, the complete tzaddik, and the not complete tzaddik. Both of them rank as tzaddikim, not as rashoyim. We can't say on any of these people that they're wicked. And we can't say that they're beinanim either. What's the difference between a tzaddik v'raloi, a righteous person who has still ra, and the rush? What makes him a beinanim? Why isn't he a tzaddik? Because there's still some leftover feeling of Ra in his heart. The temptations are still there, but he doesn't do them. So he is leading a life of struggle, and the tzaddik is not struggling anymore. Well, the tzaddik has a different kind of struggle. I heard that the Rebbe once said about the struggle of a tzaddik is to keep himself working to perfect the world, not to take it easy, not to coast. Because his real desire is just to immerse himself in holiness. That's what he really wants. He has to tear himself away from that the whole time for the sake of others, for the sake of the world. Okay, we're on page 153. The complete tzaddik is a person who has converted anything negative into positive. He knows only good things. There's no negative left. How did he do it? One by one, he recognized problems that he has in the garments. Every soul, you can't change your soul, but you can control the garments that you wear. The garments of the soul are what you do and what you say and what you think. So one by one, the tzaddik has sloughed off anything negative or unseemly in the garments of his soul. Middle of page 153, there it says, he removed the filthy garments of evil. And this means that he utterly despises the pleasures of this world. He's just not interested. He has a different level of pleasure, which we learned about. That's called Ava B'Tainugim, a love of Hashem, where he takes delight in doing great things, doing things for Hashem. That's his greatest delight. Someone told me just this morning as I was walking to yeshiva about the Reb Levi Yitzchak Barditchev. He used to come to shul in the morning, and before he davened, he would start dancing. He said, "Why are you dancing?" He says, he said, "Because I got the brachas. I thanked Hashem that he didn't make me non-Jewish. The fact that I could have been not a Jew, it's already something to dance about. Baruch Hashem that I'm a Jew." There's a story. Rabbi Tzvi Greenwald was the first person, or one of the first anyway, who left Meir Sharim, that holy area in Yerushalayim of Orthodoxy. The helicopter wants to hear the Hasidus. He left and he went to speak to the young people in the kibbutzim, where they had no synagogue, where they had no Shabbos, no Yiddishkeit whatsoever. And he went to speak with them to draw them close to Torah and mitzvahs, but he didn't know how to put things. So he asked the Rebbe, "What should I say? We have a different language. We're coming from such a different perspective." The early idea, I wonder if people still embrace the early ideas of Zionism, that the Jewish people want to be like all the other people of the world. Not really Jewish, just, we have a Jewish tradition, we're born Jewish, but it doesn't mean anything. We're not observant. After October 7th, I don't think people think that way anymore. That was a real big wake-up for our generation. So this Rabbi Greenwald, he asked the Rebbe, "What do I say to these young people?" He said, "Don't talk about Shabbos, don't talk about kashrus. Tell them they have a neshama." That's the first thing we have to keep in mind and be grateful for every day, all day. Baruch Hashem. You have to say, Baruch Hashem, that we are Jewish and we have Torah and mitzvahs, with which to express our Judaism and to be connected to the life of all worlds. So is anything else interesting? No, the tzaddik has no interest in other things except how he can use them to spread the awareness of God and make the world a dwelling place for godliness. So what is he not interested in? Page 153, the pleasure of gratifying your appetites. Instead, what he should be doing is using is the pleasure which comes from the element of water in the godly soul towards the service of Hashem. But physical pleasures are of no interest to him because they are derived their life and essence from Klippa and Sitra Achra from the other side. The complete tzaddik, the tzaddik gamor, that tzaddik v'tov lo, he's a tzaddik who has good. He hates anything that's from the other side. Why? Page 154. Moriah is not here. You know where she is?
No.
What?
No, I don't.
No, you don't know. Because of his great love, which is called here Abba B'Tainugim, love of delights, that's what he takes pleasure in doing things for Hashem, like a servant in the palace of the king, and the king asks him to do so. Whatever the king asks him, it's his pleasure to do it. Thank you for doing it. Pleasure, he says. My pleasure. And it's literally so. That's the tzaddik v'tov lo. Because kedusha and klippa are opposites. It's either or. And therefore we have to cut away our infatuation with physical pleasure. What's the lesson? I was once at a bris milah. Afterwards, people sat down. The sandik was Rabbi Schusterman. Some of you may know some of his children or grandchildren. He was the Baal Koira. He would read the Torah in shul by the Rebbe. He would be the reader in the Torah reading. He was the sandik, and he said, "What do we learn from a bris? What do we learn? We have to learn from everything. What do we learn from a circumcision? That if there's something that you don't need in your life, it's not focused on serving God, you have to cut it off." He went like that. And so David HaMelech says in the middle of page 154, Tachlis sina sinosim, toward the end of Tehillim, chapter 139, with a complete tzaddik, with a complete hatred, I hate them. He hates anything from the Sitra Achra. This is connected with this week's Parsha, because this week's Parsha is Parsha Zohar. What do we have to remember? Are you going to have a class about Parsha Zohar? You are. What you did. You already did. When the Jewish people came out of Egypt, they were red hot. Nobody wanted to touch them. I mean, Egypt was destroyed. And people were afraid to start up with the Jewish people, this new nation. A whole nation of millions of people came out of Egypt. Never happened such a thing before. Never happened a thing like that ever again. Came along a tribe which descended from the illegitimate intimacies of Esau and his children and grandchildren. They were all messing around with each other, and came out of them Amalek. And Amalek, the tribe of Amalek, they came and they raised an army and they attacked the Jewish people. They were the first ones. They attacked the Jewish people. There was a war. The Jewish people just came out of Egypt, and they had to fight a war. Where did they get weapons? They got weapons from the Egyptians who got killed. I guess their weapons were washed up on the shore. And Moshe went up on a mountain to watch, oversee the battle. and two people went up with him so he shouldn't be unaccompanied. Who were they? Hur and Aaron went up with him. Hur was his nephew. And when Moshe raised his hands up in the air, the Jewish people were victorious. But how long can you raise your hands in the air? They get heavy. So this Hur and Aaron held his hands up like this. And as long as his hands were up, the Jewish people won the war. And his hands were emunah. Because who wins the war? Hashem wins the war. So if we connect ourselves to Hashem with complete trust and faith, that's emunah, we're victorious. And then there comes the commandment. We have to remember what Amalek did, that they were the first ones who came to attack us. They were defeated, but they blazed a trail for others to follow. And throughout history, there have been people like that who, for no good reason, have come and attacked the Jews just because they're Jews, just because we are. And therefore, the Torah command says to us, we should know that they're not really fighting against us, they're fighting against God. Because what they're fighting against godliness in this world. And what is our whole purpose in being here? Is to reveal godliness in the world. And they don't want. So they wage war against us. And it's interesting that a lot of the things that we heard about October 7th were a repetition of what Amalek did when they attacked the Jewish people. How they cut off their chulin. And King David says about them, I hate them with a consuming hatred. You can't make peace. Girls, it's a tough message, but it's an important message. You can't make peace with the Amalek in your own heart, which is the Yetzer Hara. We can get along, we can get along with each other. No, an enemy like this is an enemy to the death, and illustrious enemies like this have existed throughout histories, like Haman, or more recently in Germany, or more recently in the tunnels in Gaza. They interviewed a young man there, a very nice-looking young man. Am I allowed even to say that? When the war was going on, do you think that there could be peace? He says, no, there can't possibly be peace, he answered. Why not? He said very simply, because they're Jews. I was shocked. He looked, he spoke like an intelligent person. Can never be peace with them. They are Jews. So the appropriate response is to hate them with a complete hatred, and that goes on the internal Amalek in your own heart. What is Amalek's theme? Amalek's theme is doubt. Are you sure? You sure not making a mistake? And this is revealed in the numerical value of the words Amalek. The numerical value of the name Amalek is equal to the word for doubt, suffix. A person, I'm sure you all experienced this. Amalek came and you chased him away. You chased it away because otherwise you wouldn't be still here. He comes to fill you with doubts. Oh, look, there are other people, there are other ways of doing things. Maybe you're just fooling yourself. This is Amalek. Says David Amalek, this is our arch enemy. Look in my heart, he says to Hashem, and you'll see that there's no vestige of love for the other side, for attraction for the other side. And it's one thing in inverse proportion to the other. Bottom of page 154. According to the abundance of love of God that's in your heart, So too in the inverse proportion is your hatred, is a person's hatred for anything opposed to godliness. He says here, utter repugnance for evil, which comes together with the desire for physical pleasures. That this hatred is the exact opposite of love. Page 155. So the tzaddik v'raloi, so now we understand what is a tzaddik, a complete tzaddik, what is the incomplete tzaddik. The incomplete tzaddik is a person who does not hate the sitra achra with an absolute total hatred. And therefore he does not find evil or desires that are not godly desires. He doesn't find them you know what they say in Beis Rivka here in Crown Heights? They invented a word, nauseous. Nauseous is a state of feeling, right? That's nauseous. That's not, that's a misuse of the term. I feel nauseous. I feel either on a boat, you feel seasick. I feel nauseous. So that became in Beis Rivka, Crown Heights, something that's bad is nauseous. So physical pleasures to the tzaddik v'raloi is not nauseous. As long as his hatred of pleasure is not absolute, there's some remnants of love and pleasure towards the other side. It's still there. And these are the filth, this is an example of the filthy garments of thought, speech, and action that contaminate the soul of a person who wants to be connected to Hashem. And this is the litmus test, page 156, the litmus test that the evil of the animal soul has not been converted to good, because it's still, you still find it attractive, you'll reminisce about it with your friends about the good old days. As long as that pleasure is still there, that means you've still got the ra there. It hasn't become something good. But he's a tzaddik. He doesn't behave in a bad way. This vestige of evil cannot express itself in evil desires, can't express itself because it's so minuscule, it's so minute. Ella shahu batal, it's batal to the good, it's overwhelmed by the good. But it's like it's of no significance whatsoever. Like for instance, if you have a big cholent cooking for Shabbos, and a child comes home from school, and he wants a glass of milk, and he trips and falls, and a drop of milk flies up and falls into the cholent. Uh-oh. Now the milk is cooking together with the cholent. What do? If there's no meat and no yet in the cholent and no physical, it's just like soup. You take a spoon, stir it up. If you have 60 times that drop, the drop has no significance. It's overwhelmed by the majority of the other substance. If it falls like on a leg of chicken, then you got a problem. The whole leg of chicken becomes something not permissible. So then you need 60 times the cholent greater than the leg. That's a lot. So it's a problem. This is the idea of being bottle in a greater amount, like bottle in 60 parts, or bottle in 100 parts, or bottle in some things they're never bottled, like wine used for idolatry. It's never bottled. Never loses its a potency. So he's called a tzaddik v'ra, meaning he has ra, but his ra is a very important distinction. His ra is subjugated to the good. He never made the ra into good, but he subjugated it to it. It's like in prison. The ra cannot express itself, cannot dominate him that he should do anything about it, speak about it, think about it. And if he does speak or think or do, then he's not a tzaddik. Then immediately he's no longer a tzaddik. And if he does tshuva, he can become a bigger tzaddik, because tshuva gives extra energy and extra force. So he's called a tzaddik v'ra, bottom of page 156, al kain. Therefore, gam avasei l'Hashem eine b'tachlis. Just his love of Hashem is not absolute and complete. So therefore, he's called a tzaddik who is not complete. Tzaddik v'she'ene gomor. Tzaddik who's not, gomor means complete. He's not complete. Okay, we're on the top of page 157 where it says the 12th day of Tevis. We're going to continue from there tomorrow. This is a key, very, very important chapter. So now we understand what is it, the two levels of a tzaddik, a complete tzaddik and a not complete tzaddik. The Beinoni is very similar to the incomplete tzaddik, but it's really a different world altogether, because the tzaddik is completely righteous. And the Beinoni is not completely righteous, but he is in control of the garments of his soul. That's the big difference. And that's why the Beinoni, the description of the Beinoni is really every man, because we are all in that category struggling with the negative forces in our heart, in our psyche, that they should never dominate what we are and who we are. So what do we have to remember? Parsha Zohar, we have to remember, every person has to remember that he or she has a godly soul. It's the greatest gift. What's the second greatest gift? It's so great, it's not even second. It's the Torah. The one, it's like a horse and carriage. Become one thing. Thank you very much. Here's a sikha from the Rebbe about Parsha Zohar. Did you get it? So ask Mrs. Yaffe to give you a copy of this. Parsha Zohar is very great importance to myself, because it's the first Shabbos I spent in Lubavitch. The first Shabbos I ever spent in my life. Parsha Zohar. I had started to keep Shabbos because I met a chassid. He said to me, anybody who keeps Shabbos knows it's categorically different than any other day of the week. Those were his words. I say, okay, not my thing. I don't know. But Hashem makes sure that things happen that week. And I said to myself, you know what? You could use a day off. And then I thought, okay, why not take it in the way that the Torah says to take it? The Torah, after all, is our national document. Let's try it. So whatever I remembered about Shabbos from the home, from my family, because every Friday night we had a Shabbos supper, Shabbos meal. The family came together. No matter where I was, what I was doing, I would come home for Shabbos Friday night. So whatever we did, I did whatever I could do. And all of a sudden, what am I going to do now? I cooked, I baked, I cleaned, and I dealt with it. But when the day was over and the sun was setting behind the hills, I realized that he was right. It really was different. And I thought, I really got to try this again, try and do it better. I found out more about what you have to do, and so on and so on. After a few weeks, I called up that chassid. I said, you were right. Really is different. And I've just been doing it on my own. Maybe would be amplified the whole thing if we could to do it in a community. Think that that's possible? He was British, so he didn't say, "Yeah, sure, we've got to have. Come on, come on." He said, "Well, I think it could be arranged." He said, he sent me to a family. So that was my first Shabbos. It was Pasha Zohar. Saturday night was Purim. Sunday was Purim. Sunday night, the Rebbe made it for bringing. They said, come to us, come to Lubavitch Foundation. And we had a primitive hookup, one of the first versions of a hookup. A telephone call, very expensive, telephone call with undersea cables. It was very expensive. And a little device to stick it onto the telephone handpiece and then put it through a little tape recorder. And that's how we heard the Farbrengen. I heard the Rebbe's voice. Someone summarized what he was saying in between the sikhs. I thought I was listening to a prophet from thousands of years ago. Said that's what Jeremiah must have sounded like, or Isaiah. I was sold. Never heard anything like it. It was head and shoulders above and beyond anything I'd ever heard or confronted in terms of his grasp, his wisdom, his depth, and the truth of what he was saying. So today's message is the Frierdiker Rebbe got off the boat in New York on this day, 1940. 1940? The Rebbe came a year later. And they said, Rebbe, we've got good news and bad news. The good news is you're here. The bad news is America is different. You got to understand. Today there's a big crowd to greet you. A couple of months, there won't be anybody. He looked at them and he said, no, America is not different. America can be a place, a godly place, where Yiddishkeit can thrive. 4,500 teenagers here on Shabbos. The Frierdiker Rebbe arrived here the night of Adar. We didn't have 9 people to make a minyan. Didn't have a minyan. We have to be very grateful. Somehow Maybe your great grandmother was thinking about you. I'll go take him. He said he put in a special child. Make sure they get to the right place. Good to see you, sir. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Go with me, it's more of a. It's more of a, we both think we're black students, but it's lots we want to be. You don't have to say black or brown. I know you're that one dress to wear that. Yeah. Yeah. I know you for the brown shirt that. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, thank you. Brown, not black. Well, brown and black. That's fine. I know. That's right. It looks so nice. What's so crazy? I'm so cold. You see your paper. You take some. I keep my piece on his very happy.
Okay, good morning, everybody.
Yeah, this is really good.
I was like, wait, who's the new girl? And I see straight from Jay. There's something. Oh, got it.